Rachel, you've been out there, you've talked to people, you've been doing interviews on this subject. How do you figure out what this really means? Is this a tipping point in our country? Is this Greece? Is this something uniquely American?
You know, Andrea, it's interesting. I think the protesters have taken so much heat for not having a clear organizational structure, for not being organized like a typical pressure group, for not having a tidy list of demands. But they've been very clear that that's on purpose. And there is a sort of genius to it, because by remaining a sort of inchoate, angry, but not very specific force, they are allowing everybody else in the country who is frustrated with Wall Street and the current state of the economy to sort of project what they think is important onto those protesters. And so everybody who's mad that Wall Street torpedoed the economy and the rest of the country is still sunk while Wall Street is now doing fine and actually still doing some things to really gouge the middle class, everybody mad about that can sort of project that feeling onto those protests. It'll be interesting to see if they grow, but I think they're an important signifier even if they don't grow.
Really is a Rorschach test for all the anger and the frustration, for people who are angry at Washington, for the way the debt ceiling crisis in August seemed to really exacerbate that, according to all of the polling, and just anecdotally. This is the way the president and then the vice president reacted to the Wall Street protests. I'm curious, let's play it. I'm curious as to whether you think they've really captured the importance of what is happening out there.
People are frustrated, and you know, the protesters are giving voice to a more broad-based frustration about how our financial system works.
The Tea Party started why? TARP. They thought it was unfair. We were bailing out the big guys. What are the people up there on the other end of the political spectrum saying the same thing?
I'm not quite sure what Joe Biden was trying to do, maybe sort of lasso the passion of these protesters and bring them into the Democratic campaign fold, as the Tea Party has certainly energized Republicans. Interesting analogy. Well,
it's, you know, you look back at the start of the modern Tea Party movement, and a lot of different groups have used the Tea Party as a sort of an analogous reference point, right? The Ron Paul type protesters, for example, were using it long before 2009. But when Rick Santelli got on the floor of the stock exchange and started ranting about the bailout, he wasn't talking about being angry about TARP. He was talking about the proposed bailout of individual homeowners getting bailed out from having underwater mortgages because the mortgage system was rigged by the financial industry. That was the supposed call from the stock exchange for being, and it was a call from traders who were angry that regular Americans might get bailed out. They were delighted that the banks got bailed out. So the Tea Party, again, in being sort of disorganized, has allowed people to project a lot of different things on it, a lot of different frustrations. And the lack of organization, the lack of clarity is a useful thing because it allows people to use it as a prism for all sorts of different forms of anger. And I think that President Obama and President Biden, in talking about it recently, have been trying to say, you know what, if you are mad about the economy, there's a reason for it. You're not crazy. We're mad about the economy too, and we are taking on Wall Street. We are taking on big business interests, and the Republicans are siding with them. So, you know, it's an unfocused message, but that allows people to use it for all sorts of different purposes.
There's a genius in that too.
Yeah.